in the grace where the shadows begin. The master is calling, the door's about to close, and the weight of the waste is a burden not yours. But the clock isn't silent,
It's screaming my name.
in the ruins of wealth.
I am shedding the shame.
If the world knows the hustle,
If the world knows the wind,
then why am I sleeping while the night's closing in?
oh, give me the shrewdness
To see past the goal,
to trade what is fleeting.
for a story untold. I'll use this unrighteous
Mammon of dust,
to build me a bridge in the one that I trust. From the hands of a scoundrel to the heart of the wise, I'm looking for welcome in eternal skies. Yeah, I'm using the temporary to gain the permanent. They call it the least, this paper and ink, but it's the glass where I watch as my character sinks. If I can't hold the small things with the hand that is true, how can he trust me with the glory that's new? The sons of the morning
are losing the light,
to the sons of the world,
who are sharp in the night.
but I'm waking up now.
I'm changing the plan.
I'm a steward of heaven, not a self-made man. Two masters are calling, but I've only one soul. One promise is silver, the other makes whole. You can't serve the hunger and follow the king, so I'm casting away every glittering thing. I'll slash every debt, I'll open the door. I'm making my friends with the broken and poor.
Imagine a corporate executive gets caught embezzling millions from his own company.
Oh boy.
Yeah, a total disaster. He knows the feds are closing in, right? His career is completely over and he's about to lose absolutely everything.
Right, the walls are closing in.
Exactly. So in his final days at the office, he secretly logs into the billing system and just slashes the invoices of all the company's biggest clients by 50%.
Wait, just to
Guarantee that when he's finally fired, those clients are going to owe him a massive favor. You know, maybe hire him at a competitor's firm.
right, securing that soft landing.
Yep. But instead of calling the police, the CEO calls this executive into his office and praises his hustle.
Which just sounds completely insane.
It sounds totally insane. But a 2,000-year-old spiritual teacher told this exact story and actually meant it as a template for how we should be living our lives.
It is honestly the ultimate paradox. I mean, you look at it and think, wait, did I read that correctly?
Yeah, it feels like a typo.
It does. It violates every single expectation we have of a tidy, moral, religious lesson.
Which is exactly why we are unpacking it today. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We are so thrilled you're joining us because today's source material is uniquely intimate.
It really is.
We're looking at a recorded audio session along with chat logs and presentation slides from this incredibly vibrant community study group. And they spent weeks analyzing the 16th chapter of the book of Luke.
Yeah, they really got into the weeds on this one.
They did. And our mission today is to decode the central mystery that had this entire group completely stumped. Like, why would Jesus praise a dishonest, scheming employee?
It's the million-dollar question.
Right. So we're going to explore two of the most provocative narratives in ancient texts, the shrewd manager and the rich man and Lazarus. And we're going to figure out why these ancient warnings about wealth and loyalty and the afterlife, well, why they hit so uncomfortably close to home for us today.
You know, the study group started exactly where most of us do when we read this, which is just pure confusion.
Oh, totally.
The narrative of the shrewd manager is jarring because it's not a story about good versus evil. It's a story about a guy who realizes his world is literally collapsing.
He gets caught mismanaging his master's estate.
Exactly. He's facing unemployment, and he has this moment of stark self-awareness. He says to himself, I'm too physically weak to dig ditches, and I'm too proud to beg.
He realizes his resume is totally ruined. He has zero manual skills, so he decides to engineer his own severance package.
Which is where the brilliance comes in.
Right. He calls in his master's debtors. A guy owes 100 measures of olive oil. The manager says, quick, sit down, write 50.
Yeah.
He takes a wheat debt from 100 measures and slashes it down to 80. Just like that.
And to understand the mechanics of what he's doing here, you really have to understand the ancient Middle Eastern debt system.
Oh, right, the group talked about this.
Yeah, because as an estate manager, this guy was essentially the middleman. It's highly likely that the portion he was forgiving, that 50% or 20%, was actually his own commission.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe exorbitant interest he had personally tacked onto the original loans. So by slashing those bills, he was legally binding these merchants to him through the cultural law of reciprocity.
Right. Because in that society, if someone does you a massive financial favor, you are socially bound to take them into your home when they fall on hard times.
Exactly. One of the study group participants, a guy named Kunle, he caught on to this immediately in the audio recording.
Yeah, he had a great take on it.
He really did. He called it a brilliant business pivot. He pointed out that the manager faced extreme adversity, but instead of freezing up or just wallowing in self-pity, he used every ounce of his intelligence to survive.
And in a purely worldly sense, Kunle is spot on. But the group leader had to step in on the recording and clarify a pretty crucial detail.
Yeah, the text explicitly labels this guy as the dishonest manager.
Right. Jesus isn't suddenly endorsing corporate fraud here.
No, definitely not. What he is doing is holding up a mirror to his audience. He points out that people operating entirely on earthly logic, the text calls them the sons of this world, they are often way more shrewd, intentional, and laser-focused on securing their temporary futures than spiritually minded people are about their eternal futures.
Okay, but I have to stop you there, because the application of this is exactly where I trip up and where I think a lot of people listening probably trip up too.
That makes sense. It's tricky.
Right, because the takeaway Jesus gives is to use unrighteous wealth to make friends for yourself, so that when it fails, they may receive you into eternal dwellings.
Yeah.
Like, use money to buy friends for eternity. That sounds incredibly transactional, almost manipulative, honestly. How
Yeah.
is that any different from a corrupt politician buying votes?
That is the exact tension the text wants you to feel. It forces us to step back and ask, okay, what actually is unrighteous wealth? The ancient term used here is mammon. And the group discussed how it doesn't mean money is inherently evil or demonic. Unrighteous wealth simply refers to the currency of our current broken system.
It's the resources of a temporary world.
Precisely. The manager realized that his master's money was going to be completely useless to him by Friday afternoon.
Right, it was expiring.
So he traded a currency that was about to expire to purchase something that would endure, which in his case was relationships and security.
Ah, okay, so it's basically a currency exchange.
Exactly. It's a
Right.
currency exchange. And the spiritual parallel here is profound. Your bank account, your property, your investments, they all have an expiration date.
Yeah, you can't take it with you.
Right. When you die, that currency completely fails. So the apprentice of Christ, which is the term the study group used, is challenged to be just as shrewd as that worldly manager.
Take this temporary expiring currency and aggressively convert it.
Yes, convert it into something eternal. Human souls, relationships, bringing relief to those suffering. It's not about bribing God, it's about recognizing what actually lasts.
And the manager survived because he recognized he was just a steward of the money, not the actual owner.
That's the key.
And that realization that everything is just borrowed forces a pretty uncomfortable mirror onto our own lives. Because if we don't actually own our time or our money or our influence...
That means someone else does.
Exactly. And eventually they are going to check the ledger, which leads us right into the concept of the audit.
The audit is inevitable. I mean, the master's opening line to the manager in verse 2 is genuinely terrifying. He says, give an account of your management.
Yeah, that would make my blood run cold. And this actually brought out easily the most vulnerable moment in the group's entire recorded session.
Oh, Dolores' comment.
Yes, a participant named Dolores spoke up. And she wasn't embezzling money, she wasn't committing fraud, but she confessed to failing the audit through sheer complacency.
It completely shifted the tone of the room in that recording.
Yeah.
You could hear a pin drop.
You really could. She articulated this slow, silent drift that catches so many of us.
Yeah, she talked about how we focus all our energy on making our lives just like 5% more comfortable.
Right, we want the slightly bigger house, the promotion, the nicer yard.
And the result of pursuing all that comfort, we end up too exhausted to actually use our lives for anyone else.
We become too tired to show hospitality, too drained to mentor anyone, too busy to even notice the neighbor who is struggling right next door.
And if you're listening to this on your commute or at the gym right now, just think about your own calendar for a second. We tend to think of mismanagement as something malicious like the guy cooking the books.
But Dolores reframed it completely. She framed it as misplacing our energy. If every resource you have is spent entirely on maintaining your own personal biosphere, you are mismanaging the estate.
That's such a powerful way to put it. And a member named Io actually dropped a really profound thought into the group's chat log during this part of the discussion.
Oh, I remember that. What'd he write?
He goes, everything we have is on loan, from God money, time, and influence.
Wow.
Yeah. What Io highlighted is the psychological trap of ownership. Because when we think we own our resources, we use them to build walls of insulation.
We engineer the need for community right out of our lives.
Exactly. We have attached garages, fenced-in yards, automated deliveries, so we literally never have to rely on anyone.
But if we are all living on borrowed resources and we're all prone to this default drift toward isolation and comfort, how do we actually keep ourselves in check?
That's the big question.
Because the current of our culture is pulling us so strongly toward just buying the bigger house and locking the door. It's a current that's incredibly hard to swim against alone.
Well, the study group arrived at a very practical but highly uncomfortable mechanism for this. They called it oversight functions.
Oversight functions. I mean, that sounds like a corporate HR policy.
It does sound super clinical, right? But in the context of a community, it simply means true accountability. We need people in our lives who have the right to audit us before the final audit happens.
Okay, that makes sense.
Io brought up the story of King David from the Old Testament to illustrate this. David committed a string of horrific abuses of power, adultery, murder, and he was surrounded by advisors, but no one said a word.
He was completely isolated by his own authority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It took the prophet Nathan having the sheer audacity to walk up to the king, point a finger right at him, and say, "You are the man who did this." That is what finally snapped David out of his delusion.
Dolores actually typed a phrase into the chat right after that, which I thought was just perfect. She called it boldness wrapped in love.
Yes, I love that phrase.
It's not about policing your friends' budgets or being annoying. It's about caring enough to say, hey, I notice you've been totally isolating yourself lately, or it seems like your career is consuming every single hour of your week. What's going on?
Which requires giving people permission to speak into your life. Because without that oversight, without that boldness wrapped in love, we run the risk of falling into the exact same psychological trap that the original audience of this teaching fell into.
Right. The Pharisees. The religious elite.
Yeah.
The group's slide deck titled this next section, The Tragedy of Possessing the Truth. Because, Jesus wasn't telling these parables to a secular crowd. He was aiming this directly at the religious leaders.
And the Pharisees heard Jesus say, "You cannot serve God and money." And the text specifically notes that they ridiculed him. They actually sneered at him.
Why? Because they were lovers of money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They had built this entire theological framework that equated material wealth with divine blessing. In their minds, if you were rich, God was happy with you.
And if you were poor, you must have done something to deserve it.
Right. It's a very convenient theology if you're the one with the money.
The group hit on this tragic realization, though. The Pharisees' wealth acted like an impenetrable wall.
The wall of wealth.
Yeah, it's like downloading a premium fitness app, right? You pay for the highest tier subscription, and you read all the daily workout plans from your couch while eating a box of donuts.
That's a brutally accurate analogy.
The Pharisees had the premium theology subscription. They had the law and the prophets. They knew the truth, but their wealth acted like spiritual cholesterol, just clogging the arteries so that the truth couldn't actually circulate into their actions.
That captures the mechanism of the tragedy perfectly, because wealth offers an immediate, tangible salvation.
It really does.
If you get sick, wealth buys medicine. If you are sad, wealth buys entertainment. If you are insecure, wealth buys status.
When your everyday environment allows you to buy your way out of every human inconvenience, you completely atrophy the mental and spiritual muscle required to feel a need for God, or to even feel empathy for others.
It creates the illusion of belief.
The illusion of belief. That's exactly what the slides called it.
Yeah. They firmly believed in a future life and a final judgment. I mean, they were highly educated theologians. But intellectual belief is not a shield.
No, it's not.
And the core takeaway the group extracted here is just staggering. Believing in a future judgment is eternally useless if you do not live in conformity with that belief.
If your checkbook and your calendar don't reflect what you claim to believe about eternity, the belief itself is just a cognitive illusion. You don't actually believe it, you just like the idea of it.
That is a tough pill to swallow.
It is. And Jesus doesn't just leave this as some abstract philosophical warning. He drives the psychological reality of this right into their chests with what has to be his most visceral, haunting illustration.
The story of the rich man and Lazarus.
Yes. It is the absolute culmination of everything we've been discussing about wealth and complacency and the audit.
The contrast he paints here is just staggering. You have this unnamed rich man draped in purple linen.
And historically, that purple dye had to be extracted drop by drop from sea snails, right? It was astronomically expensive.
Unbelievably expensive. He feasts sumptuously every single day. He is the ultimate picture of self-sufficiency.
And right outside his literal gate is Lazarus. Lazarus is a man whose body is covered in sores, starting to the point where he's just longing for the scraps that fall from the rich man's table.
And the text adds his gut-wrenching detail. The street dogs come and lick his wounds. He is too weak to even shoo them away.
It's awful. But the insight here from the study group isn't just that the rich man was wealthy and Lazarus was poor. It's about the gate.
The gate is crucial.
The rich man had to walk past Lazarus every single day. The psychology of self-sufficiency had so completely blinded the rich man that Lazarus wasn't even a human being to him anymore.
He was just part of the landscaping.
Exactly. He didn't actively hate Lazarus, he just didn't see him.
That is the ultimate danger of the purple wall of wealth. It isolates you from human suffering. But then, the story introduces the great equalizer.
Death. Death comes for both of them.
And two of the study group participants, Njideka and Tunde, they caught a brilliant textual detail here in the audio session that completely changes how you read the whole passage.
What did they notice?
They noticed the profound difference in how their deaths are described. When the rich man died, the text specifically notes that he was buried.
Buried, okay.
Yeah. And that represents the ultimate stripping away. All his temporal, earthly luxury, his purple linen, his influence, it all ended right there in the dirt.
It was a currency that completely failed the moment his heart stopped.
Precisely. But when Lazarus died, there's no mention of a burial.
Well, a beggar like Lazarus probably wouldn't have received one, right? His body might have just been thrown into the valley outside the city.
Exactly. But the text says he was carried by the angels to Abraham's side. The slide deck actually anchored this to Hebrews chapter 1, verse 14. The man who received absolutely no dignity, no help, and no medical care on earth receives the ultimate royal divine escort into the afterlife.
And then we witness the great reversal. The rich man wakes up in Hades in absolute torment. He looks up across a massive void and sees Lazarus, the man he ignored every day of his life, being comforted by Abraham.
The situations haven't just changed, they have completely flipped.
But what really fascinates me is the rich man's reaction. Because even in hell, his psychology hasn't changed at all.
Not even a little bit.
He yells up to Abraham, "Have mercy on me," and sends Lazarus to dip the end of his finger in water and cool my tongue. He still views Lazarus as an errand boy.
Yeah, he knows his name.
Right. Which means he always knew who was starving at his gate, and even now, he just wants to use him for his own comfort.
That is such a crucial observation. It proves that death doesn't magically change your character. It locks it in place permanently.
Wow.
The rich man spent his entire life treating people as objects to serve his comfort. He was entirely self-obsessed in life, and he remains entirely self-obsessed in eternity.
And Abraham's response is so haunting. He calls the rich man child or son. There is no malice in Abraham's voice.
No, there's a striking note of compassion, a sort of tragic paternal grief.
But the compassion doesn't alter the reality.
Not at all. Abraham tells him, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, and Lazarus in like manner bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in anguish.
And then he outlines the unchangeable finality of it all.
Yeah. He says, besides all this, between us and you, a great chasm has been fixed, in order that those who would pass from here to you may not be able, and none may cross from there to us.
A chasm that cannot be crossed. The permanence of our choices.
It's the ultimate revelation of the audit we talked about earlier. The situations and loyalties we confirm in this life cannot be renegotiated in the next. Death isn't just the cessation of breathing, it is the great revealer.
It reveals what our true currency actually was.
Exactly. The rich man wasn't condemned simply because he had a high net worth. He was condemned because he trusted in a failing currency to build a wall that kept him from seeing the human beings suffering right at his gate.
He had the premium theology subscription, he believed in Abraham, he believed in the afterlife, but his actual loyalty was to his purple linen.
Yeah.
And when the linen was stripped away in the grave, there was absolutely nothing left. He had used the unrighteous wealth to build a comfortable life instead of using it to welcome friends into eternal dwellings.
He was the exact opposite of the shrewd manager.
Oh, that's a great point.
The manager saw the crisis coming and gave away everything he had jurisdiction over to secure his future.
Right.
The rich man saw the future coming and hoarded everything he had, losing it all.
Which brings the entire weight of this community's deep dive right to you listening to this right now. This isn't just an ancient story or some theological puzzle to solve.
No, it's a lens to examine your own life today.
Look around at your resources, your home, your bank account, your influence, your schedule. Are those things acting as a wall, isolating you from the messy, inconvenient needs of the people around you?
Or are you acting like the shrewd manager, using that temporary, expiring currency with fierce determination to build relationships, alleviate suffering, and invest in something that will actually echo into eternity? It demands that we stop and conduct a personal audit before the final one arrives. Who is at your gate? And have you become so self-sufficient that you don't even see them anymore?
That is the uncomfortable mirror we all have to look into. And I want to leave you with the final haunting question that the study group leader posed to the room at the very end of their recording.
It's a question that really sticks with you.
It is. It's something you should carry with you into your workday, into your neighborhood, and even into your budget planning. He asked them, if every single thing you owned, your title, your money, your home, was stripped away from you over the next week. Wait, let me rephrase that without the pause. If every single thing you owned was stripped away from you over the next week, would anything be left of your loyalty?
It completely changes how you view every dollar you spend and every hour you schedule.
It changes everything. It turns out Jesus wasn't praising the dishonest manager for breaking the law. He was pointing at him and saying, look at how fiercely this man works to save himself for tomorrow. Imagine what you could do if you worked that hard for eternity.
What a thought to end on.
Truly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the things you read, keep pushing back on your own complacency, and most importantly, keep auditing your own life. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, I'm using the temporary to gain the permanent. Ship's ending, the sun's going down. I'm trading my currency for an incorruptible crown. Not an owner, just a manager of grace, until I see the master face to face.